Hello and welcome to Main Street Matters by Heart on Main Street, the podcast that uncovers what it takes for you to become truly unforgettable. I am your host, Patrick Keiser. Welcome back, friends. Last episode, I outlined my learnings from the Main Street Mondays that I have done over the previous 2 years. Through this adventure, I featured 50 towns and spoke with retailers, residents, and town officials to, yes, show off great retail stores and communities across the country, but also with the overarching goal of finding out what makes a great Main Street. I use Main Street pretty loosely, maybe downtown shopping district is more accurate. Sometimes this is actually on a main street and sometimes it's on Central Ave or Broadway or 3rd Street. Whatever way that you think about it or refer to it, I investigated the elements that good and thriving ones are doing and where some communities can make improvements to get them to that thriving state. In the last episode, I outlined these learnings. They can be bucketed into a few groups, what retailers can do to help themselves. This would be things like participating in your local downtown business development associations, building community pride, and working with your neighboring stores. And investments into the town as our other group that must be done by the downtown, like making the shopping district more accessible, a beautification project like artworks and murals. I spoke broadly about these concepts and really just outlined my thoughts and observations. Today, I want to give you real examples and highlight communities that have done these things very well. Over the 50 communities that I have visited, there are some that I've essentially used as templates for these ideas. They do every one of these things that I have outlined, and as a result, they are a thriving downtown shopping district. Some of these examples are areas that were struggling a few decades ago, but they made the investments necessary to turn the future of their downtown around. With each learning, I will try to feature a variety within the town size and population. I don't want you to think that these things are only possible in small towns or in large towns. And before we start, I did have a comment on last week's episode that it almost seemed like a eulogy to Main Street Monday. This was relatively perceptive. With changing roles and the growth of the organization, I am no longer able to conduct Main Street Monday in the same way that I've previously been able to do with a new community every week or almost every week. I don't want to close the door on Main Street Monday because I still believe that there is incredible value in these visits. However, it is necessary that it transforms. It won't be as often, but hopefully this will allow me to expand where I'm visiting and see other parts of the country beyond the Midwest and where I travel to for work. My first point last week was that a thriving Main Street has the support from the community. I'm not really going to dive into this examples because really this is the end result of everything else that follows. The support is built by the hard work of the businesses and the town. It doesn't just happen. If your community is supporting your downtown shopping district, then you have successfully accomplished some of the elements that I'm going to be talking about. If they do not, then take a hard look at where you can help improve in order to build this support. People want to support their local community, but they're not going to do so if you don't offer anything in return. So my first real point as we're getting going is encouraging retailers and small business owners to participate in their local downtown business development organizations. Whether that is a downtown business association, downtown developmental association, Main Street organization, chamber of commerce, merchant group, or whatever group is in the community that makes decisions for the businesses. The first community that I want to highlight is Saratoga Springs, New York. I will highlight them multiple times as I'm talking here because they are one of my template communities. They do so many things right, and there's so much to learn from them. Saratoga Springs has a DBA, a Downtown Business Association, where merchants and community organizers can come together to decide how the downtown should operate. It is not just government bureaucrats making decisions based on spreadsheets, but the business owners themselves, the ones of the community, have an opportunity to be heard and ask for things and plan things together. And this operates as one voice for the businesses of the downtown. This kind of flows into other points, but this group plans events for the downtown to bring people together. They work together to make the downtown a fun and exciting place to be. They coordinate cross-store collaborations that I'll talk about later. And this is not just two store owners that are involved. Many of the downtown businesses have a say in their DBA. They are the stakeholders, and their opinions are valued. There is great power in participation. If this didn't exist and one store owner had an idea and presented it to the city, it's easy to dismiss it. However, a representative body of business owners is much harder to turn down. This group celebrates the achievements of businesses, has annual awards, and fosters each other's growth. It is amazing to see what they've done for their downtown businesses by working together. Another example of the power of a business group is in Hannibal, Missouri. Hannibal has a beautiful, historic town, but in the 1990s they had a terrible flood that devastated the community and threatened the historical nature of the downtown. Hannibal did not really have anything in place to represent the needs of the merchants, so they created it. Together they have worked with the city to implement safeguards for businesses, beautify the downtown, plan festivals, and collaborate with each other on events and other activities that happen in the downtown. They've become stronger because of their work together. In a similar vein, the retail stores of Lincoln, Illinois, recognized that they needed to support each other, but did not have the infrastructure in place to do so. So they decided just to meet informally. Once a month, the business owners around the town square get together at a local coffee shop and talk about their business. They discuss what's been going well for them, what they're struggling with, ideas that they have, events that they have coming up, and how other businesses can help them promote it and participate in it. It's led to a stronger bond between the retailers. They do not view themselves as competition, but as like-minded business owners who want to see the success of the downtown. It isn't a formal organization, so if you can't make the meeting, that's okay. They can always ask a friend about what was discussed, and they don't need quorum to vote on things. It's just people getting together to help each other out. If your community has something in place that represents the needs of the downtown businesses, I strongly recommend that you participate in this. It might seem like extra work, but you are a stakeholder in your future, and you deserve to be in the room where decisions are being made about your future. You deserve to have a voice and your ideas heard. So please participate in these things. The stronger and more active stakeholders that are involved in this, the stronger the organization will be. If your community doesn't have something like this, you can either create it like they did in Hannibal, or you can start an informal meetup like they've done in Lincoln. Businesses are better when they're working together. This really flows into my next point. There's a lot of crossover in these elements, but businesses that collaborate with each other create a stronger and more successful Main Street. This concept moves from the idea that you need to participate in a group to actually doing things with your fellow merchants. It is one thing to know about the events that they are holding or to talk about the needs of the shopping district. It is another to actively work with the other businesses to make sure that their events are successful and to help drive shoppers to the other stores in town. An easy way to begin doing this is to share with your other local businesses what events you have going on and seek partnerships. Can they maybe advertise for your event? Can they contribute some product for gift baskets? Are there handouts that they can provide to you for you to give to your attendees to advertise for their business? Is there an opportunity to co-brand the event in some capacity? This can be some low-hanging fruit to begin working with the other businesses in town, but there are many more opportunities to grow this collaboration. To start talking about this, I am going to, again, go to my friends in Saratoga Springs because they do so many things right. In Saratoga Springs, there are downtown-wide window competitions around the holidays. Each store dresses up their windows in unique styles based on their own products and their own creativity. It is not just a one-off thing where one store in town does elaborate windows, but rather that each store pushes each other to think differently and be more creative. Think of that stereotypical dueling neighbors decorating their houses with Christmas lights. but it being an entire downtown area and really not as ostentatious. Think of how fun that is for shoppers to explore the downtown and see what each store has to offer. Think of how many people will travel in just to see these windows. Think of how many more eyeballs a store is going to get for participating in this. Think of how many people will walk into a store where they might not have previously because they liked the window display and the products featured caught their eye. A store that might not have been noticed before can really put itself in the forefront of people's minds because of its fun and creative display. To go along with this, there will often be a game or competition associated with the display, like Find the Pumpkins activity around Halloween, where certain stores have a special pumpkin in their display, and shoppers can get a scorecard that encourages them to go out and find all of the special pumpkins. Once they find one, they go into that store and they get their card stamped. Once they find all of the pumpkins, they can turn in their scorecard to the DBA, and the first maybe X amount to turn it in can receive a prize, or everyone that turns it in is entered into a raffle to win something. Again, think of the traffic that this can bring to a store and the people who will walk into a store they might not have otherwise just to get their stamp. Yes, maybe it is just to get the stamp, and maybe they will notice something that they really like and buy it. Maybe they'll learn that this store sells something that they're interested in and become repeat shoppers. This helps drive business to the retail stores. This would not be possible without the businesses working together and collaborating with each other on these ideas. A similar concept to this I found in Bay City, Michigan. In Bay City, there is the Hot Chocolate Hop competition. For a day during the winter, each participating store features a different type of hot chocolate. Think peppermint or caramel or s'mores or chocolate martinis, and the list goes on and on. This is coordinated alongside the hot chocolate run that's put on by the city, so there's already a lot of people in the downtown area, and it brings them into the stores. There's a voting competition as to who has the best hot chocolate, and the store that wins gets to have bragging rights for the next year. People get stamps at each store, and if you visit the participating stores, you can turn in your card and get entered in to win prizes, which are often items from those stores. They create gift baskets from the participating stores. The stores are also offering specials on this day that encourage people to shop as well as, not just drink the hot cocoa. Again, this is a coordinated concept that brings people into stores to shop and experience. Hannibal, Missouri, we'll go back to them, has a live mannequin event where retail stores are given a theme or a story which is decided upon by the merchant organization. And there's a night where the stores have people dress up and act out the scene from that story in their store windows. Again, this brings people into the area to see the windows and to see the live mannequins and how each store is creatively representing that theme. In Howell, Michigan, there's a string of retail stores that all share a back alleyway. You'd think that generally the back alley would just be an area where you'd find dumpsters or trash cans, and it's not the most appealing sight. However, the businesses here have worked together to make this alleyway an event space. Cafe lights hang overhead, lighting the space and bringing a cozy atmosphere. In the wintertime, each store brings out a Christmas tree and decorates it to represent themselves. From the bright pink and tinsel covered to rustic wood, each tree tells you something about the store. These stores then host a party for the community in the alley where music's playing and the stores are open late. An underrated and great element of this is that it connects businesses on two different streets together. Using the back entrances, you can easily go in and out of stores that might be actually a couple-minute walk away from each other if you're to use the front doors. And believe me, that is a huge benefit on a cold night. These businesses work together to host this event. They split costs with each other, all to bring more people into the area to shop. Something that would be impossible to do if they saw each other only as competition and not collaborators. Another great example of this collaboration is in Madison, Wisconsin. Madison is a bigger city, a state capital, So there are more pockets of business here than other places I've mentioned so far. But I'm going to reference the Monroe Street businesses here. There is a Monroe Street business community. It's an established organization that works together to encourage dining, shopping, and activities for families to participate in, like Trick or Treat on Monroe Street or Holiday Glow on Monroe. Great rhyming names there. They also, for almost 50 years, have had their own Monroe Street Festival. Where the street is closed down, they bring in bands and bouncy castles and balloon artists and dancers and face painters to make a huge event. Restaurants are selling samples on the sidewalk, bookstores invite local authors to come do readings, each store has its own event and activity going on, and it brings in a ton of foot traffic to the area. Yes, there is coordination with the city, but this is done by the merchants. It's their party, and they invite the city to come attend it. The stores work together to make this happen, and it's grown into a huge tradition in Madison and made Monroe Street a strong retail sector. Now, many things cannot be done by the merchants alone. There is a coordination with the city and local governments that's necessary to execute. But these things are often the biggest events of the year when they're done. These are the things that can bring in tens of thousands of people to an area and bolster the economy. Events and festivals are the single biggest drivers of people to a downtown area and within a limited time frame. The more often that these events exist and the greater uniqueness of them, the more successful the downtown shopping district will be. A common example of this is something like a First Friday event occurring on the first Friday of each month. I visited many towns that have instituted these. Monroe Street in Madison, Goshen, Indiana, Tarpon Springs, Florida, just to name a few. And these are great. Each month has a different theme and you can appeal to different sectors of the community. The dog lovers one month, the wine lovers another, art lovers, movie lovers, and different things around holidays. It's a great way to have a consistent activity within the community that brings people into the downtown to appeal to different interests. A twist on this comes from Hinsdale, Illinois, where during the summer they host Uniquely Thursdays. Every Thursday from June through August, the town brings in live music to play in the park. They close down the streets, they bring in family-friendly activities like face painters and balloon artists. The stores stay open late to capitalize on the increased amount of shoppers. It is for a limited time of the year, but it brings more people into the area on a Thursday night than there would be without it. And that there is the key to so many of these events and festivals. They get people to spend time in the downtown. And the more time people spend, the more likely they are going to buy things and return to the area to continue to shop for things. Many communities do festivals, especially around the holidays. Halloween and Christmas seem to be the most popular ones. And these are great. They serve the purpose. However, successful main streets also do something unique to themselves, something that represents them that no one else can replicate. Cedarburg, Wisconsin has an absolutely massive strawberry festival. Strawberries are grown in the area, apparently, and this is a huge festival to celebrate all things strawberry. Strawberry shortcake, strawberry crepe, strawberry brats, because of course it's Wisconsin, strawberry slushies, strawberry wine, you name it, and there's probably a strawberry version of it. For this late June festival, over 100,000 people flood into the town of about 12,000. This is a massive boon for the local economy. Next year will be the 40th anniversary of this event. Did it start out attracting 100,000 people for a 2-day event? I'd wager not. But it's the tradition aspect of it that brings people back year after year and has seen this grow into something incredible. Ely, Minnesota does a similar Blueberry Arts Festival in July. Does it bring in 100,000 people? No, it's further from a metropolitan area than Cedarburg is. But does it bring in tens of thousands of people and make it busier than just about any other weekend of the year? You betcha. A side note to the retailers of towns that have these events, where your town is absolutely flooded with people. I talked with retailers in these towns who said that they are not open during that event because either I want to participate in the festival myself, or it's just too crazy with all these people. You are turning down free money, free business, and the opportunity to be in front of customers who have not yet experienced your store. Being open during these events is part of the deal of owning and operating a small business. If you are not open, you are choosing to be less successful than you could otherwise have been. So, soapbox over. Other unique festival and town event ideas that I've seen that drive people into an area can be found in a town like Stillwater, Minnesota. Annually, Stillwater hosts the World Snow Celebration. Included on the docket of events during the World Snow Celebration is the World Snow Sculpting Championship. People from literally all around the world come to compete in this event. And it doesn't just appeal to the cold climate countries. Representatives from Mongolia, Mexico, and Taiwan were the medal winners this past January. Other years, they've seen people from Turkey, Ecuador, and Florida on the winners' podium. And of course, Canada, Minnesota, and North Dakota have their fair share of representation as well. It doesn't just attract people familiar with snow, it attracts artists and people that love art. Now, clearly this is unique to Stillwater. Not every community can have an international championship that brings people from all across the world to their events. Yet it had to start somewhere. I really challenge communities to think about how they can be seen as unique and lean into this as a way to have a different type of event that can potentially bring 100,000 people to your community someday. Possibly the most extreme leaning into this concept I have encountered is in Hannibal, Missouri. Hannibal has some very unique elements that opens it up more opportunities for events and festivals. I'm going to touch on that further when we talk about leaning into your history. But they get lots of tourists that visit throughout the year. Hannibal is running events essentially every week, over 50 annually. The girlfriend getaways and chocolate extravaganzas, cardboard boat races, car festivals, steampunk festivals, gathering of quilters, concerts on the river, and many things related to their most famous former resident, Mark Twain. If your town is not doing events, or maybe they're just doing something around Christmas, please try to think of other opportunities, things that are unique to your community to celebrate. The best areas do these things, and they reap huge rewards from this business. My next major learning was around accessibility and the concept that the more accessible your downtown shopping district is, the more people will want to spend time there, and thus the more money that will be spent there, and the more successful businesses will be in the area. Accessibility takes shape in a couple of different manners, and out of all of these learnings is probably the most that's on the shoulders of the entire town as opposed to anything else. However, thinking about and advocating for your community is still incredibly important. The first community where this concept really became evident to me was in Goshen, Indiana. The main street of Goshen was previously also State Route 15, which means it was an exceptionally heavily trafficked road that ran right through the middle of their downtown. This is unfortunate for shoppers who might not feel safe crossing the road or spending time in an area where cars are whizzing by at 50 miles an hour. Sure, there's speed limits and stoplights, but you know how people are. I've been to many other communities that have been structured this way as well. The creation of what is now the historic Route 66 was essentially based on this model, connecting Chicago to Los Angeles through a highway structure that brought people through small towns. So I know the trepidation of spending time in towns where semis go barreling through the main road. It's not really comfortable. One thing that the city of Goshen did was to get the state highway rerouted to go just outside of the downtown area, thus cutting down on a lot of traffic that's coming down Main Street. I say a lot because people are people, and the quickest route between 2 points is a straight line, so not everyone follows the rerouting, and they might just continue down Main Street instead. To dissuade this, a series of stoplights and stop signs, one at each end of the shopping district and one in the very middle, were put in place to slow down traffic. Yet still there were safety concerns. The street is wide, 2 lanes going in each direction, lots of cars in an area that should be made for pedestrians. So the community completely eliminated 1 lane going each direction, which added room for street parking where it didn't exist previously. Then they began a practice called daylighting, where they've removed parking spots near intersections and replaced them with brick and concrete flower beds. Not only does this make the area look nicer to bring in more floral arrangements, but it also allows pedestrians to be much more visible to cars. Instead of stepping out from behind a minivan that completely blocked the view of the pedestrian until they were really literally out into the street, they are now stepping out from behind a 2-foot tall flower bed. Much easier to see someone. They also extended the sidewalk, and it gives pedestrians really a shorter distance to cover in order to reach the other side. The parking spots that were added are also angled to the sidewalk, not perpendicular, to increase the visibility of pedestrians. It's a lot of infrastructure investment into the town, but it works. The city official that I spoke to said the accidents have decreased drastically since the changes were made. Public polls say that people feel safer in the downtown area, and shopping has increased and businesses are doing better. Win, 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 win. Another community that has put a lot of investment into making its downtown shopping area more accessible is Alpharetta, Georgia. Following the housing market crash in 2008, Alpharetta found their downtown a ghost town. Businesses went belly up, people weren't visiting, and something needed to change. Over the next 5 years, a massive project was undertaken to transform the downtown into a place where people wanted to spend time. Above-store housing increased significantly to bring residents into the heart of the downtown, and green spaces were created to provide an area for community activities and gatherings. The downtown became centered around a large field turf green space where on any given day you can find people playing with their dogs, throwing a frisbee, or playing cornhole. This has become a place where outdoor concerts are held and screens are set up for outdoor movies. It's a community hub, a place for residents to bring their lunch from a local restaurant, of course, and sit and enjoy the outside. Again, the more time that is spent in the area, the more money that will be spent in the area, and the more successful that the area will be. Something that I touched on with Alpharetta, but I've also noticed in many communities, is the growth of multi-unit residential facilities near the downtown. Certainly, this is something that is more popular in larger population areas, but it can be done differently in small towns. The general concept is that people, especially younger adults who are more likely to work and from home, they want to live and eat and shop in the same area, and commercial planners should give them the opportunity to do so. I saw this in Alpharetta with the development of multiple floors above the stores, full of apartments and residential areas. I also saw this in a more historical downtown of Carrollton, Texas, where a large apartment building was constructed a few blocks away from the downtown. I also saw this in areas like Belle Plaine, Iowa, where a concerted effort has been made to renovate the second floor above their downtown shopping area to transition it from storage areas to nice apartments. So this doesn't have to be a multi-million-dollar construction project that brings in hundreds of new residences. It can be renovating what already exists in order to bring residents more directly in contact with the downtown. Another small-scale example of creating greater accessibility is what I saw in Bloomfield, Iowa, where they undertook a project to redo all of the sidewalks surrounding the town square. The contrast between the finished sidewalk and those that hadn't been worked on yet was stark. This change made it easier for people to walk around the square and visit stores in the area, which is what you want. My next learning was around the concept of developing town and state pride and how fostering this creates a larger connection to your community. Remember, the desire to support local businesses does not just come from hopes and dreams. You have to build that desire, and part of it is by building pride in where you're from. People want to feel connected to their homes, and stores should give them the chance to do so. To do this, you can sell products representing your town and your community. I've seen this done in several different capacities, some very successfully, and others less so. I hesitate to say this, but I'm going to do it anyway. There can be an element of this that becomes overly touristy. Think of the town ski patrol or town Coast Guard shirts and sweaters that a middle schooler might pick up when visiting somewhere. To me, that doesn't build town pride amongst the residents. It likely detracts from it. Local residents see this and feel less connected to the area because it feels like it belongs to somebody else, an outsider at that. However, I have seen several great examples of towns and stores building this pride within the residents. The best example that I have encountered is, I always go back to it, Pentwater, Michigan. Pentwater is a lovely lake town in northern Michigan that has about 750 full-time residents. It balloons in the summertime, but it's still a tiny, tiny town. There are some stores in Pentwaters that verge on the touristy aspect of things, but for the most part, the town is doing an excellent job at cultivating a culture of town pride. A gigantic portion of the people that I encountered while walking down their main street were donning something that said Pentwater. And it wasn't just tourists, it was locals in the off-season. But they were tasteful Pentwater hats and sweaters and pullovers. People had pride in their town. And furthermore, there was an opportunity to buy Pentwater merchandise almost everywhere. The art store sold throw pillows and tote bags that had a design created by the owner. The candle store sold scents of Pentwater that were more nautical and campfirey. Home decor stores sold blankets with the town name. Gift stores sold customized toys and trinkets with Pentwater. And of course, apparel stores sold the clothing items that I saw people around the town wearing. Even though it is a small town, people wanted to demonstrate where they're from and showed pride in being from there. Another example of this town pride was in Carmel, Indiana. There, they have a store called All Things Carmel. And as you might guess, they sold all things related to Carmel. Whether it was merchandise for the local high school, products made by Carmel residents, or products featuring things in or about Carmel. It is the roundabout capital of the US, by the way. Anything that had to do with Carmel could be found there. This is one store that was purely dedicated to celebrating the town, its history, its architecture, and the makers who lived there. You can imagine the pride that it built to be able to buy something unique to your town. That there is a place purely celebrating all of the great things about your community. You can find your local products from a local store and how this might inspire you to visit other local stores and keep your shopping local. Another store that brings this singular focus to the community is the Ely Mercantile in Ely, Minnesota. This is a newish store. The owner, Kara Poliner, has been on this podcast in the past. But here you can find custom products for whichever lake that you live on or for vacation to. There are all sorts of items that represent life within Ely. They depict images of Ely and they represent pride in being associated with this town. The other variation of the town pride concept is state pride. I saw this many places, but the town of Stillwater, Minnesota did a really excellent job of building this and having several stores purely dedicated to selling things about Minnesota, or related to Minnesota, or made in Minnesota. Soda Clothing Store, Minnesota Made, and Smith & Trade Mercantile were just a few of these stores that fit that mold. To have so many options in one community where you can buy nice things that are locally made or focus on the celebration of the local area is truly remarkable. Differently, I was really impressed by Trends at the Park in Estes Park, Colorado, and how they did this. The store is not dedicated to the state of Colorado, but I wouldn't doubt that there are many stores that are within the area. However, they had a beautiful display of Colorado and Estes Park products right up front of their store. There were locally made items, Colorado-themed items, all sorts of outdoor and Colorado wilderness products, everything you could want to celebrate the local area. The Tin Cottage in Franklin, Tennessee has done a similar thing. The whole store is not dedicated to Tennessee, but they have a very nice section in the front of their store. This is valuable property that they are committing to locally made goods and goods centered around the local area. This shows that this matters to the store, and they want it to matter to others as well. Stores in good main streets make an effort to build this town and local pride into their community. People want to feel as though they belong somewhere. Selling nice products that make them feel like they belong to your community will make the customer more likely to want to continue shopping and supporting your local community. No one else is going to tell you that your community is great besides those that are part of it, so you need to build that pride in where you live. This belonging and connection to the community is really at the cornerstone of my next learning, in which I encourage you to lean into the unique history of your area. Understand what comes before you, and make sure that your community understands and celebrates it too. Rightly, this is easiest done in communities that have a rich history or where something monumental has occurred. But you can choose to celebrate almost anything, no matter how big or small or fictitious it may be. The city of Murfreesboro, Illinois has a Big Money Monster Fest every year that celebrates the local legend of, you guessed it, a big muddy monster that is essentially a muddy Bigfoot. It is the act of celebrating it that makes it matter to the community. I spoke earlier about festivals and events that celebrate uniqueness of your area. A celebration of the community's history is a great way to do this. I've seen this honoring of the past really kind of take two paths. It can be something that exists and is acknowledged visibly throughout the area but does not consume the presence of the community, or it can swallow the entire town whole and exist in every fiber of what the downtown area is. Neither is better or worse. It really depends on the community and its history and the benefit that it brings to the entire area. Two communities that I visited that have become reflections of their town's history are Hannibal, Missouri, and Baraboo, Wisconsin. As I mentioned before with Hannibal, it is the hometown of Mark Twain. And not only that, but it is also the setting for many of his stories, including those of Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. Going into the downtown, you feel like you are walking into the books. You cannot walk a block without seeing some reference to Mark Twain or those stories. The nearly weekly events that I mentioned that they have, many of them have to do with Twain, Tom, or Huck. As a result, it's a huge tourist area for a tiny town. Viking Cruise even makes a stop there. For them, this makes total sense. Leaning into their history will allow this Main Street area to do exceptionally better than if they rejected it. Baraboo, Wisconsin is a much milder example of this. However, I would say still an example. Baraboo was home to the Ringling Brothers of the circus fame, and as a result, it has the Circus Hall of Fame, and many other circus-related events have happened throughout its history, and thus it has been dubbed Circus City. The downtown leans into this history, and it allows it to thrive. It is a fun downtown to be in. The Ringling Theater dominates the town square. There is a large circus tent painted on the street. The buildings are brightly painted, the crosswalks have colorful designs, the fire hydrants have circus themes like elephants or fire. They have music pumping into the town square. It was not circus music when I was there, but I would guess during the Big Top Parade in June that they do. Their acceptance of being Circus City and the downtown reflecting that brings people in to experience the fun and to shop. The town of Galena, Illinois has the opportunity to be absorbed, but it has really found a nice balance of being able to demonstrate its history, but not be overwhelmed by it. Galena is the birthplace of Ulysses S. Grant, as well as 8 other Civil War generals. And this fact is present in the community to a great degree. There are statues and tours and stores like 9 Generals. It has an old-timey historic feel to it, but nothing like Hannibal. You are aware that you're in a historic town, but it has been updated and modernized enough to not make you feel like you're in a time capsule. There are events like the General's Christmas Ball, but others that just celebrate being a historical town without any necessary connection to Grant or the other generals. Franklin, Tennessee was very similar in that they celebrated being the site of 2 Civil War battles with statues in the town square and plaques, but they also celebrate being founded in 1799 with banners on every light post. Other towns like Lincoln, Illinois, which is named after Abraham Lincoln, of course, show their history through the name of stores and businesses in town. Lincoln was named after Abraham Lincoln before he ever became president, and while he was still within the local government. Stores all across the town square are named referencing Lincoln, from Top Hat Creamery to Spirited Republic Brewery. It brings a sense of unity amongst the businesses to have this similar concept woven into their being. Towns that once lay upon the historic Route 66 often reflect this bit of American history too. Thousands of people every year still travel the route through 8 states connecting Chicago to Los Angeles, and millions more ride along portions of it. Towns like Pontiac, Illinois have art installments dedicated to the history of Route 66. I'll talk more about this as we talk about downtown art, but Pontiac has done a wonderful job of telling its history in art throughout the downtown. Just by visiting, you understand the founding of the history, businesses that have existed there, the importance of Route 66 to the town's growth and development. You get Pontiac. The birth of someone famous always seems to be a popular thing for towns to celebrate, and for good reason. Especially in small towns, the celebration of a famous resident brings with it a sense that anyone from this town can make it big someday. Like in Seymour, Illinois, the birthplace of John Mellencamp. They let this be known through a gigantic mural dedicated to him in art installments throughout the downtown, and you can see young people looking up at these and aspiring to be like him, or others taking pride in knowing that when he sings, "I was born in a small town," he's talking about their small town. But you don't have to have a famous resident or a famous event happen in the community to still connect to the history of the area. In Cedarburg, Wisconsin, they've done a remarkable job at preserving and utilizing older buildings for modern commercial purposes. They have not torn down or renovated the buildings of their historic downtown, but have rather reformatted and adapted them. The town's old mill has been filled with restaurants and stores. You can still see much of the old mill equipment, but it exists within the commercial environment. Stores like Rylu's Boutique occupy a former wool store that was also a pharmacy and had housing in the back half. Today, the store uses the wool store's pegboard in order to hang hats and jewelry, and the shelving that was made for larger spools of wool to display purses. In the back, the built-in china cabinet has been retrofitted to display apparel. Throughout the town, you can get a sense of its history and the importance of it to the residents of the area. Leaning into this gives them a sense of connection amongst the community. Leaning into your history really benefits the downtown shopping area in many ways. If you can find something, it provides another opportunity to celebrate. These can be other festival or event ideas that are unique to you and only you. Celebrating it brings people into an area to see and experience something different. If it becomes a tradition, you have something that builds over time that people expect, bringing more and more people into the area. With more people in the area, more money will be spent, and the commercial area will become more successful. Connecting to your history also helps build that pride in your local area. People will feel more connected to the community if they connect to something within its history, and will have likely to be more supportive of the community and local businesses. The last element that I saw of great main streets and that they can be used to attract people into the downtown area is artwork and murals. So many towns use artwork to beautify their downtown, and it is lovely to see. Having art in the area makes people feel welcome It brightens the space to see bright colors and murals and sculptures. It gives people something to do if they don't necessarily want to shop or eat, and it can keep people in the downtown area longer. The town of Goshen, Indiana has statues and sculptures designed and made by local residents scattered all throughout the downtown area. How fun it would be to spend time walking down the main street and seeing an art piece that was designed by a friend, a family member, or even yourself. That's when people start to care about the downtown and they start to be invested in it. And this is in addition to the flower planters that are on all four corners of every intersection. The downtown is filled with art and beauty. Sometimes towns will use artwork to tell their history, like Pontiac, Illinois' numerous murals depicting the route of Route 66, the founding of the city, advertisements for old buildings, a street scene of the town from the 1950s. The artwork makes you feel like you've stepped back into the heyday of Route 66, as though it were Back to the Future. Woodstock, Illinois has a rich film history, as H.G. Wells once lived there, and thus near the town theater they've added long murals depicting Wells's contributions to film history, as well as highlighting other movies which were filmed or written within Woodstock. You can spend a long time looking at the murals and appreciating all that has come from this town. Hannibal, Missouri also employs artwork to tell its history as a steamboat city and the stories of Mark Twain. This adds to this mood and feeling surrounding Hannibal's attempt to pull back the curtains to the 1850s for its visitors. Some communities use art as a driving force to bring tourism into the community. Elmhurst, Illinois had a popular Umbrella Sky art exhibit that was displayed throughout its downtown. The art installation involves filling areas like alleyways with colorful umbrellas. It's very Instagrammable, very social media friendly, and it drives people to the downtown to see it. Honestly, I discovered Elgin's downtown by seeing a post about it. And many stores have supported this by adding their own colorful umbrellas to window displays, selling umbrella-themed products, and having umbrella decor. This art brought a lot of people to the shopping district, and the businesses were able to capitalize off of all of that extra foot traffic. I encountered a few communities that cleverly used artwork to encourage people to visit other parts of the downtown area. This caused people to explore areas that they may not have otherwise done. A wonderful example of this is the downtown area of Dubuque, Iowa. Throughout Dubuque, there are over 40 large murals depicting things about Dubuque, things about Iowa, and art of all themes. Along with this is a guide to tell people where each mural is located, about the artist, and about the piece. This encourages people to go on a scavenger hunt to find each one. The murals are located in popular sections of the downtown as well as off the beaten path. By participating in this scavenger hunt, you can explore the commercial sector of downtown Dubuque and discover areas that you probably would not have naturally gone to. The more that people are spending time in the downtown, the more that they're discovering, the more that they're shopping, the more that they're likely to spend more time, and the more success the entire area will experience. St. Charles, Illinois has a similar experience with several art pieces throughout their downtown. However, they've done this a little bit differently. They've placed QR codes next to the art so that people can scan it and be taken to a website where it shows the other locations of the art pieces. This too brings the art explorer to other areas of the downtown shopping district. And there's an element to this that allows you to check off which art pieces you have found by scanning that QR code. While St. Charles does not have a prize element built into this, you can see how a community might gamify this exploration. Our friends in Saratoga Springs have also created this art hunt element with a few symbols of their city. Saratoga is known for horse racing, as well as their performing arts theater. So around the downtown, you can search for two different types of art installations: large fiberglass horses and painted ballet points of a similar material. These are especially fun because they are symbols that represent the city. Each piece is individually decorated to represent different things about the city or different artists' interpretations of what the icon means to the city of Saratoga Springs. Several of these installations have been auctioned off, but many businesses around town were the ones that purchased them so that they could remain fixtures within the downtown area. Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin has also incorporated the idea of using a symbol for the town to create repeated artwork throughout the downtown community. When I visited, there were fish spread throughout the downtown, some fiberglass, some of other material. Each business was allowed to submit their own design for the fish, and then they were placed in front of that business. It became great talking points for the people around the town to select a favorite fish or explore the different varieties, and the business owners developed a friendly competition over whose was best, funniest, or most representative of the city. At the end of the summer, these would be auctioned off for a local charity, also creating another competition point as to who could sell theirs for the most. And finally, I would be remiss to not mention Bishop Arts District in Dallas, Texas, in a conversation about the successful use of art in a commercial area. As the Bishop Arts District name implies, there is so much art to be found. Where Dallas often has the impression of being more business-focused and focused on finance, this neighborhood is an oasis of color and culture. There's murals depicting Batwoman, whose original actress was from the area. There are murals celebrating the neighborhood's Hispanic culture. There are painted music notes and hearts on walls. There's an art installment that includes funny lines from letters written by local children. There's Dallas history and local Bishop Arts Oak Cliff history all throughout the area. Art that celebrates equality and the culture of artists, and art just purely for art's sake. The vibrancy invites you to stay and experience what the district has to offer. Art beautifies a downtown and encourages people to spend more time there. It makes people feel welcome and invited. But it does so much more. It can be a unifying symbol for the community. It can tell the community's history. It can get involvement from the residents to have ownership in their downtown. So I'm going to stop there today to wrap things up on a note of really where I started. A thriving downtown has a community around them that want to support them. But this is a culture that has to be created and nurtured. It does not just happen. Great main streets are well organized. They work together. They tap into their own uniqueness. They proudly represent themselves and their history. They have places where people want to spend time and are able to spend time. I hope as I've discussed these examples, it has brought some ideas to the front of your mind as to how you can help build a stronger culture throughout your downtown. Thank you so much for joining me today on Main Street Matters by Heart on Main Street. If you liked this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone that loves small businesses as much as you do. Until next time, keep supporting your local retailers and keep your heart on Main Street. See you next week. This episode was written, produced, researched, and edited by me, Patrick Keiser, with a very special thanks to every single community that I have visited along my Main Street Monday tours. For more information about Heart on Main Street, you can visit heartonmainstreet.org, and to communicate with us, you can contact at heartonmainstreet.org. Thanks!